I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite
podcast
on the Citadel.
You are listening to Accidentally Casual, an audio soup of games and nerds as a podcast. My name is Minius of Minius GC, and with me is Tucker from Talking About Games.
Probably say my favorite soup would be tomato soup, just because it's kind of a simple soup. It goes well with grilled cheese.
What we're gonna have to do at some point is, Tucker, I'm gonna like catch what you're saying when you sound actually excited. And I'm just gonna plug that clip in every single time.
I mean, it's kind of
right afterwards.
Tomato soup is good, but
so you can sound like you're actually excited to do the podcast instead of whatever it is you
my
are.
heart is here, but you could get excited about tomato soup.
But you don't even sound excited about that.
Well, because it's tomato soup. I mean, it's good. Tomato soup's good, especially if you have some grilled cheese or some sort of extra thing to go along with
That's
it.
That's a little bit better.
It's a solid, soup choice.
Tucker, I want you to bring the zest. You used to bring zest.
Dude, well, yeah, and then y'all kind of got angry when I actually left the podcast.
Yeah, because we were recording in... Okay, whatever. And Scott from BioWare Babbling. Scott.
What's up, nerds?
Scott's with us.
I'm sorry, gaming soup?
Dude, okay, I'm trying to come up with something...
because that sounds like it's some sort of gamer sweat.
Oh.
That's it. You know what? You completely ruined it now. Do I have to come up with something else and re-record it?
No. Me ruining things is a staple in this.
No,
Scott, what's your favorite
Scott
soup?
ruined it. You were ruining it in your own way where it's not actually interesting. Scott gave us a visual.
I would love it if people in the comments told us what their favorite soup choices are.
Okay.
Yeah,
that'd be very nice to know.
So I've been coming up with something different. It's a combination of 3 different words: games, nerds, and a podcast. And trying to mix them up, and I'm starting to run out of ideas. And I think the soup one is...
it's great and all. I just was not prepared for gamer soup.
I don't. Well, I mean, that's not really what I meant. But the more you mention gamer soup, the less appealed I am with that intro.
That sounds like a mistake on the maker's
really
end.
Really gross. No, it's totally on my end.
Well, I mean, Scott, what's your favorite
soup? It's like
soup?
gamer bathwater.
We never got the answer.
We instead of bathwater, we bathe in tomato soup.
I thought it was Delphine stuff.
Oh,
but what's your favorite soup, Scott? I don't think you ever answered.
Ooh, I'm definitely a clam chowder type of guy.
Clam chowder? Ooh, you'd love it then out here in Seattle. We got some clam chowder places right at Pike's Market.
Ooh. I might be having to head to Seattle for a funeral, so I might have to check that out.
Oh, well, that's not as exciting, but...
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
What about you, Minius? Are you with me with the tomato soup? You're seeming pretty agreed.
Yeah, no, I actually think that's a solid choice, even though it's not particularly interesting, but I dig it. So
doesn't need to be, because it's
no,
more of
you're
the
right.
addition of what else
it's
you're
right
bringing.
there. I mean, chicken noodle soup is also a go-to, but I don't eat either of those that often. So
yeah. So big news this week.
Hold
Old
on.
School RuneScape got added to Steam.
Oh, is that why I've seen you on there the whole time?
Yeah, and ignore that I have it open right now.
Oh my fucking god! I didn't even notice that, and I would have come up.
I noticed that.
Close it, Tucker.
I mean, it's idling right now. It's
care.
running in the background with an idle bot running.
Game that both of us are probably going to play together, which is very rare. Ashes of Creation, coming out at some point. Literally an MMO done by a guy who was an MMO fan, and then made a bunch of money and funded his own.
It was made by one dude.
Well, it's funded by one dude. It's not like a like a corporation or completely done off Kickstarter. The guy fully funded it himself, and is the creative director.
How many people are working on it? Like, does he have a full studio? Or
yeah, he's got a full studio. They're actually hiring right now. I tried to. You weren't qualified for any of the positions, apparently.
Oh, right.
I wanted to get you a job.
Yes.
Anyway, I think that's a game. Like, it's one of the few games that both Tucker and I would be like, we'll totally be into that.
And what was it? Was that Ashes of Creation?
Ashes of Creation, yeah.
There's
on
PC?
Extremely good. I mean, it's at the point where it's going to have a open alpha, not open, a closed alpha, but no NDA alpha coming up in the next couple months.
Ooh,
There
that's
is a ridiculously good YouTube video done on it, and I'm gonna put that in the description box. That breaks it all down. If you're into MMOs, you might really like it there.
Okay.
Of creation, who's the YouTuber that did this? Because I want to give him credit for it. TheLazyPeon, an MMO YouTuber, who it's a full. You're like, dude, sounds great. And a lot of MMOs, I mean, to sidetrack, a lot of MMOs sound great and then never are because they run out of funding or something like that. But this is already self-funded, so that's why I'm interested in that. But anyway, if you want to chat
MMOs,
more about any kind of games,
a difference with funding of MMOs compared to other games is that MMOs require more of a continuation funding. While normal games, you just kind of have a set, like, development will cost X amount, but MMOs it'll cost X amount, but then it goes
then it needs to
more
continue.
and more and more.
Yeah,
and
it depends.
more.
At some point, I will get into this game more because that's actually one of the games I'm more interested in coming out. And I don't know how much it would be to the Mass Effect community. But if you want to talk games with our community, we have a Discord community.
We do.
Where you can commune with people.
Yeah,
how else can I put community in there? It's in the description box.
Yeah, I was going to say, it should be right there in the description box. We have chats of gaming, movies, stuff like that. With the EA, or not EA, what was the PlayStation conference? What was it called?
The State of Play.
And
you were excited for that, and I was like, you shouldn't be excited for that, and I was correct.
Yeah, well, something I'm also curious with how our community would view it if we did like a live thing.
I mean,
we
would have just been bummed the whole time that they didn't show the one game that we care about.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if E3 or something like
Hey,
that, where
like
there are
2 or
much
3 for
bigger
me.
games,
Okay.
that would be, I think, kind of fun because. Sure, it may not show specifically Mass Effect, but I'm sure they'd show a bunch of other games we can get excited for and talk about.
The game would have been Horizon, and they didn't even show that.
Oh, I thought you were meaning Mass Effect or Dragon.
No,
Age
of course they're absolutely not going to show that. There's no way EA would give that away.
Fair.
No,
EA's better with Microsoft, right? I feel like they're better,
usually, and
much
I
better.
think like Microsoft or Sony would need to pay to show that, like have an actual partnership with money involved. Yeah. We also have an email address that people continue to write into and I promote, and I
really
missed an email earlier, and I want to blame Tucker for going on there and reading it and then making
I don't even think I have access. I don't think you ever gave me
do have
access.
Oh,
I do.
And there's absolutely no way it was you. But I'll get to that. I'm going to blame Seeker now because she has access to it, I'm sure, because the stuff hasn't changed, and there's no way Seeker's even doesn't care at all. So it's Ability Drain's fault, who doesn't even want to be on the podcast. Okay. Also, something really exciting happened to like 2 or 3 people who listen to the podcast. There's now an audio version of the podcast.
Oh, finally.
Where you can get the latest couple of episodes online and listen to it on SoundCloud. It's back up there again. I looked at some other podcast services, and I did not like their terms of service at all. So we're back on SoundCloud,
like Spotify or any of the bigger ones.
I was like, oh, I can't figure out exactly how much I'm being screwed by this, so I didn't want to do it. Depending on how popular that is, we will expand a bit. But at least 2 episodes, we have limited upload space. I might just pay to have them all up there so you can download or stream all of those on there, depending on how popular they are. But the link to that is in the description box, and the latest 2 will be up there. They'll launch a little bit after the YouTube one, but they will be up. So there you go.
All right.
You guys ready? We actually have BioWare news this week.
We do.
Holy
like
shit,
a lot of it.
do we?
So there are 3 things that popped up, and they have different levels of
3.
importance and entrance.
I know of
3.
2.
You only know of 2? All right, we'll go with Tucker's 2.
It's Anthem and Dragon Age not having a multiplayer.
Yeah, but the other one was so much cooler than those. But yes, we'll start there.
Wait,
I would say the other one's sneakier. I would say that's the best way to.
I guess so, and also might not be real.
Possibly.
I'll talk about that in a bit. But you want to talk about? So Anthem is being shut down.
Yeah.
Or no longer continued working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Tucker, you said you actually started playing it, huh?
Yeah, I actually played it over the weekend because I did a video with another person that's within the BioWare community named JD. He did a podcast, The Freelancer Codex, and other things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit. I know those guys. Yeah, I watch their stuff all the time.
I did a video with him yesterday, recorded it, and it was about Anthem. So I was finally like, all right, we're going to talk about it on this podcast. I'm talking on that with JD. I'll finally play the game and actually get hands-on experience rather than just things I read about it and so on. And I am honestly kind of upset with how much I've been enjoying the game.
It's really fun to a point, and then it comes crashing down.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with me personally that is with Cyberpunk. And I enjoy games. This is also why I'm enjoying old school RuneScape, besides just nostalgia, is that these are games that you can kind of half play. You can do other things while playing the game. That, like with old school RuneScape, I can type things or listen to books, like book on tapes or any of that kind of stuff.
MMOs are great for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I kind of treat Cyberpunk the same way. And Anthem, I was having a lot of fun flying around. All of the achievements in the game are pretty much complete X challenge with the guns, which is to just kill the certain people. Like, the achievements seem pretty doable.
One of them was ridiculous. I remember that, and I'm like, I'm not doing this.
And
yeah,
so it's like I'm just going to try to get all the achievements in the game. And
okay, you're probably going to stop because one of them requires some serious grinding.
Yeah,
unless they changed it, which I haven't checked on.
I don't know. I know that it's not common for games to change their achievements.
It is very uncommon. Yeah,
there have been times.
They may
Siege,
have reduced the level needed to reach the requirements for it.
Maybe. But Siege, they've changed their achievements. I think Destiny changed some of their achievements when they removed a bunch of content.
Okay.
Things like that.
It's interesting because I kind of think the number one reason they cut this down is there's no way they can repay their investment for doing more on it, I think.
Yeah,
I mean are you going to rebuy Anthem?
I mean, I already had it.
I understand that, but like, who's going to rebuy Anthem? I mean, they're not going to get new people to buy it.
Yeah,
it's really unlikely. I mean, so where are they going to make their money from?
Yeah,
if they continue,
they would definitely have grabbed some new people, but
not enough to pay for it, though.
Yeah, with them also working on Dragon Age and Mass Effect, that right there are two big projects that have high expectations going for them already right now. Yeah. It is understandable.
Scott's played the most, so what do you got to say, Scott?
So when it comes to Anthem, it's funny because I think about the stuff I've said on the podcast, and man, I was wrong. Like, oh yeah, they're not gonna cancel it. They've shown it can make
There's
money.
There's nothing wrong with optimism. I was optimistic too, but
and then it got canceled. I'm like, ouch. Okay, I see how it is. So the one thing I kind of see from it, and this is kind of coming from the blog post from Christian Daly, Jason Schreier's stuff. Which Jason Schreier strikes again. What I am sad that it's going because I followed the concept art and the blog posts and stuff like that about the progress they were making, and it was like it actually looked really promising. I'm like, okay, I can dig this. One thing I remember, a YouTube channel called Your Anthem kind of brought up, and I follow the same point as well, of the thing is that people got to remember is the video game industry has a very short memory span sometimes, and, in a year or two from now, they may be able to release it, and it might pique people's attention again.
It's not impossible.
Yeah, I will say though, my reason why, and this is again, I have not too much evidence for this, mostly on the grounds of the video game industry is way too secretive, and there's just a lot of information we don't know. I don't think it was money. I don't think it was because of money. My best guess was, if you read the blog post, Christian Daly brings up, the transition of because of COVID, and how they had all of these plans for what they were going to do, and then COVID happens, and then they had to make the transition, and their productivity was affected by it, and which I encode that as our productivity suffered.
A lot of companies did. I mean, I've heard
every
Elden
single
Ring.
one, man.
Elden Ring
I was about to
is
say,
having that.
There's not a single developer or publisher where COVID didn't affect their productivity. I'm not blaming them on that. But my best guess in what happened before COVID was they were going to release Anthem next late 2021, and then they were going to release the next Dragon Age game late 2022. And so they were going to have like a few years of, like 3 years of really good games. But what happened was, with Anthem Next kind of, with productivity going down because everyone had to stay at home, my best guess on what happened was they kind of did some trajectory shit of, oh shit, these two games are going to be coming out within 6 months of each other, or even less, and we can't work and get two games out of this scale at the same time. It's just not possible.
All right, so conspiracy theory number one. That's a lie. It's all about money for EA on that. They were going to hire more people, and I don't think they really care.
I think some of it had to do with it. I think some of it has to do with it, but I think, to kind of finish my point of, with those two games kind of going to be releasing at the same time, just with productivity levels and how they was going, I think they went, fuck, we can't release two games at the same time and both have them polished to the standard they need to be, and so both would suffer from it. So I think they went, shit, we gotta sacrifice one or the other to make sure the other one is going to do well. And
there are some things, and I'm going to go here and take it over from you, some things in Anthem that were fixable, like the loot system and the progression system, and there were some things that were fundamentally flawed, like that open world was not built for the way they ended up using combat. One of the most frustrating things about flying around there is that they have this really cool mechanic where you can cool yourself off and continue flying. But there is no stretch where you don't have to land at some point and walk. And you should be able to go from like water source to water source and stay flying if you zigzag around. And it wasn't built for it. So you can tell there was a major creative change at some point, and it just doesn't fit.
Multiple.
And
there was multiple.
Enemies are too far apart, and when you get into missions, everything's done in that open world, and the action just happens too slow. So there's a real fundamental problem, and then there's the other problems that were fixable. I think there's too much work to be done
to
get it to work. Did you know that you
also cool your javelin off if you dive down?
Yeah, it's very unlikely you're going to tell us something about the game we don't know.
I also don't know like what they may have changed since then.
No, Tucker, you are right. It was if they dive down, it doesn't really cool them off, but it stops the meter from increasing.
Yeah, it's hard to use that to really continue going.
You can also skim across water, which is kind of cool.
I think if you go with the Interceptor, it's either the Interceptor or the Storm Javelin. You get all the mods for it that can increase flight javelin time. If you get like engrams and shit like that boosts, your range even further. Like, you can go as far as ways, but you can't go from one, unless you are a fucking pro and plan it out. I don't think there is a way. Minius, I think you are right. There is no way to go from one end of the map to the other without
that's just poor design at that point. I don't know how you add a bunch of waterfalls, and really poor design is a little too critical. I mean, what basically happened is they decided, okay, we're going to have flying being major mechanic, and the world must have already been locked in, and they don't match enough.
From what I read from like Jason Schreier's previous work, it constantly was in change of, oh, we're implementing flying. Oh, nope, we're changing it. Oh, we're implementing flying. Oh, no, we're not. And so the environmental and world design team had to constantly be changing out the world for the scale of like running versus flying. So they had to do that constantly.
I
do
think it's kind of sad
and
that
Go ahead,
Anthem is
Tucker.
a better Iron Man than the Avengers game.
That makes sense though, because the Avengers game was it's always difficult to have multiple characters with completely different play styles that play together. So like
There was such a
you
cool
can't
concept.
you can't really
but-
have Iron Man be Iron Man and then have Black Widow be Black Widow, and they're just too far apart.
Well, I mean, there's a first for everything, and especially with how the Arkham games have been and the Spider-Man game, there was some hope.
I mean,
for that Avengers game.
That's true, but those would all be better off if they were just focused on one character and gameplay for that. That is an opinion, and also could be wrong if someone proves me wrong at some point.
The Avengers game is also another game that's kind of heartbreaking. Like,
Here's
I've been thinking about
before
with
you
Anthem.
go off on a side
Well, no, I mean,
tangent that's
it was
not
with
actually
Anthem.
related to what we're talking
It was
about.
with Anthem.
Is it a good move to stop going Anthem forward? Because I mentioned on either last podcast or the
I was about
podcast
to
before.
bring something up of.
Yeah, but I never trust you're going to stay on topic, so I have to
That's-
cut you off.
Is that means you're learning, but
No, I'm still not done. Would you? I'm cutting you off
It
as
was
much
the
as I can.
topic.
You can.
But
Fine. I'll let you go after this. I said it's a good move to cut off Anthem and focus on the other two games. Do you guys agree with that?
I think so, mostly on the grounds of I am in the belief of Anthem was going to come out too close to when Dragon Age 4 was going to come out, and that was going to negatively hurt Dragon Age 4 and Anthem. So I think that's why they cut it. Was like, if we cut this, then we can pour all our resources into
What's the crossover between Anthem and Dragon Age, though?
not much.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's also one of the reasons is there isn't that much there's not much crossover, but what is BioWare more known for? MMO stuff, which everyone keeps on forgetting. Oh yeah, by the way, SWTOR's a fucking thing. And or their single player stuff like Dragon Age and Mass Effect. So
All right. Do we let Tucker talk about his thing, or do we just completely?
yes, you
ignore
do.
him?
So
do the thing, Julie.
So like I'm thinking about other games that are akin to it, like other kind of open world RPG kind of games that when they launched, they also had issues. Like Destiny, when that game came out, it was fun for the first 5 hours or something like that, but then you realize that there really wasn't much endgame stuff, that the story was lacking and all those issues, but it was still given time and given the ability to update and for new things to come out, which is something that Anthem, well, BioWare has been kind of steered away from because of Anthem's original reception. And other big games have had that issue, like Final Fantasy XIV or Elder Scrolls Online. Both of those games launched not in the best of states.
14 was awful.
But now they are more popular than
Yeah, the one thing with that, and actually in Destiny was it ran really well and was polished. It just was the content issue. Anthem was not polished at all.
No, it wasn't.
was there crashing and stuff on it? Like,
it was bad.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a bit different.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst game I've ever played, but it was bad.
Is that
and
Cyberpunk?
There was polishing issues.
There's still issues when I jump back in like a month ago to check it out.
What,
Yeah.
Cyberpunk or Anthem?
Anthem.
Anthem.
So
Have you
it had
given-
like multiple things against it. The one thing Destiny did have is that game launched as an online game, the very first one, and it worked.
Yeah.
Like those games never work.
Mm-hmm.
Have
And
you
it worked
given
and it was smooth.
any more to Cyberpunk or no?
Not. I mean, I was gonna play it eventually, and then my friend talked about he got to the final decision and it crashed on him again. So I'm like, all right, I'm waiting at least a year. I'm not doing that.
That's not good.
My biggest problem actually with Cyberpunk was not the bugs, it was the way it handled and played, and I did not like it. So that I needed more to go there, and I needed the story to function. And if the story wasn't going to function without bugs, then I wasn't going to do it. But that's kind of a different thing. With Anthem, with Anthem not getting EA backing, but those other games you mentioned, there was a serious investment. Like, for instance, with Destiny, there was already $1 billion committed by Activision to make that work. So they were going to make that work.
Well,
And
EA has
EA
other
does not
outlets,
have a reputation for sticking with anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you also have to remember, BioWare also, at the time, developed one of the most expensive video games in the world, which was SWTOR.
And took that a while to work, and that might have been... You saying that's profitable. Do you have an actually good source on that? Because I don't...
The only source that I really have is an earnings call that happened earlier in 2020, saying that shit, why can't I do words? Fuck.
Well, you're being tripped up by the super weird language they use in those earning calls, but go ahead.
Yeah. What they said was it had made, in the 8 years that it had been running, it had made $1 billion.
What was the cost of it? Probably half that, right?
No, it was 200.
But then you add the marketing, which doubles it. That's why I was saying half that.
Yeah.
And then the continued server cost and adding more stuff, and so that's why I'm putting it at half a billion.
Yeah, I would probably say they would be close to that. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing they don't tell you, and they're really sneaky with stuff, and they make things sound like they're doing better than they're doing because those earning calls are designed specifically for investors.
Yeah.
And you don't tell investors, "Hey, we suck."
You want to tell them a nice story.
Yeah.
You want them to know that they're...
So, like, I really want to know the Andromeda number's bad, and I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Probably not.
No. Well, and even if you look, one thing that a lot of people were noticing was Anthem was talked about a little bit in their earnings, like quarterly earnings call, like when it first launched, and then like nothing for nearly a year.
They really forced that game out way too early. Way too early. But
I think there's something that needs to be said that BioWare should have used their development time more efficiently and kind of shouldn't have been wish-washy on stuff, but the idea of like, shit, this game is not going to be ready within a year and a half. Let's give it more time.
Here's a question that was written into accidentallycasual@gmail.com that's related to this, at least a little bit. Do you think that BioWare/EA will return to the Unreal Engine for their RPG games? Frostbite can't seem to handle RPG games well, and it's been years since they've been trying to tackle this issue with no success.
Have they said what engine Dragon Age is?
Have they actually? That's a good question.
I think they actually in the either in the 2018 trailer or in the most recent trailer. I think one of they had like the brought to you by BioWare, EA, and I think one of them did have Frostbite.
That was they're promoting that. The biggest problem with this using Unreal Engine as opposed to Frostbite is developed inside EA, and they don't have to pay anyone when they use it.
Yeah.
So it's cheaper to use Frostbite, but there's something wrong with that and the BioWare games. It's not working. It's not working.
The one thing I will say is that I think what is going to determine that truly is going to be how well does Dragon Age 4 do with the Frostbite engine.
And is that being confirmed being done on Frostbite?
I'm damn near certain that it's being done in Frostbite.
I would be surprised if EA uses anything else.
Yeah. The reason why I think that more is going to determine it is the biggest reason why BioWare went with Frostbite originally was internal, and they needed a new...
Because they were told to, man.
It was...
There wasn't any other reason?
No, it was okay. So the originally, and I actually should know the source for this is Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. I have actually the book right on my desk, totally for a different thing though. And pretty much they started looking for a new engine in 2010. Because the engine that they were using, they weren't really satisfied with it and was limited in what they could do with it. So they wanted to do something different. What they did was they looked around, and especially at this point they had already been acquired by EA, and they saw the Frostbite engine and they saw what it could do. And they were really impressed by it. And so what they did was they decided, let's go with that, because one, we don't have to pay, other publishing costs. The biggest reason, though, is that we could work with other studios to make different, so then we can collab with each other and be able to develop stuff. And we can use that for essentially I can't remember the exact terminology that they use, but essentially reuse assets and stuff like that to make development easier.
Conspiracy theory number 2. That is also a lie and cover for money.
Oof.
Well, I mean,
there is absolutely no evidence to back up my conspiracy theories.
Okay, I thought you were about to say like, there's no theory. There's no evidence, and it's like, well, this is by Jason Schreier.
That sounds like PR speak to me.
Well, he was talking with. Well, this is Jason Schreier, him talking to Mark Dura in an interview.
Yeah,
so,
why would you say anything other than positive things when you're dealing with a company that can fire you? I don't know what advantage you have to say. There's no advantage of saying like, we wanted to use a different engine, but EA made us use this one, and it's not working.
Well, I mean,
because that's all the what it looks like is that, and there's no way someone's going to come out and say that. And when you get let go by a major company, you always sign an NDA, so you don't say anything after that either.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but at the same time, like at least with what is kind of been said. It doesn't say that they... I mean, they also bring up, like, problems that they experienced as well. Like, that's what they were saying. Yeah. The reasoning... What I was trying to get to is, that's the reasoning why they went with Frostbite. The rest of the book, or at least the rest of the chapter that talks about the development of Inquisition, talks about, like, this, it wasn't built for it. We literally had to rebuild, like...
I've only heard problems about Frostbite. I haven't. Yeah. They haven't really gotten anything to work yet.
Like role-playing games and stuff. It works well for the Battlefield.
Yeah, no, but it's a first-person shooter engine. That's what it's designed for, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing that they bring up in the book. Well, is like, this was developed for that. There were also other issues that they were having where, like, between Anthem, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Inquisition, the 3 Frostbite games, there's not a lot of overlap. They couldn't really reuse a lot of assets and systems from it. So the whole point of, okay, well, reusing assets will be easier and things like that, kind of was null and void, because they kind of had to develop those games from scratch. Another thing that, as well, so like the Nomad, for example, that was actually done with the people who do like Need for Speed.
Yeah,
that's why it worked so well. So in concept, that's what a lot of it was supposed to be.
But
if you also look
to cut this a little bit short, because we're continuing on about this, which isn't exactly what we meant. I think you can't argue that the results have not been positive.
Oh no!
They have not done anything good with it. And the biggest thing the best thing that Frostbite has going for it is those games look fucking gorgeous.
Oh yeah, but they're amazing.
Other games other engines are kind of like Unreal 5 is going to come out relatively soon.
Yeah,
and that stuff looks good. And if it's much easier to use, boy, I wish they would switch.
Another game that I've been playing over this past week is Battlefield 4. And that game came out 2015, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it still looks it still looks really good.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
the Frostbite
impressive.
engine is phenomenal.
For
Yeah,
reference,
visually.
the Mass Effect games were made on Unreal 3,
Yeah.
and those seem to work on that.
Yeah.
So-
I think the one...
Well,
yeah.
2 and 3, not the first
What
I thought the
will
first
say,
one was. Maybe not.
on Unreal 3.
I don't remember.
I will say, though, I think what is going to determine if, hey, Frostbite's worth the investment or not, or really if, like, hey, do we need to jump to another thing, is going to be Dragon Age 4. Because that is going to be the first game where it is going to have these more recycled assets. You know, the fact they're using the Anthem code base, the fact that you're going to have decisions and characters and assets from Dragon Age Inquisition that we're going to now see in Dragon Age 4. I think that's what's going to determine it.
Code base is not encouraging.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's not encouraging at all.
Yeah, well, and
That's
that
the least
also-
encouraging thing I've heard about.
Yeah,
so
which,
far.
I mean, we could also use this as a good transition to talk about
Ooh.
Dragon Age 4.
Transition
And-
point. Dragon Age 4 news.
Yeah, the Dragon Age 4 news is that EA is now allowing BioWare to completely cut out all multiplayer aspects from Dragon Age 4.
I like the language used. They're allowing them. Is that some, I
That
guess
is
that,
much.
that is the official language that they use.
okay.
Which,
Well, EA said something about just in general being more open with their game, with their
Publishers.
companies and stuff. That
yeah, and if
they're
you-
gonna
They-
they're gonna kind of like back
They
off
need to
of it.
turn around their PR badly, and that's a good way to do it.
They've been
Yeah.
doing that. I feel like EA.
Yeah,
definitely,
no, that's fine.
I mean, they've
Well,
had
yeah.
to after fucking the government was
Tho-
going at them a few years ago.
yeah.
You kind
Lots
of
of governments are
can
going
only
after
go
them, actually.
up from there.
Well, I think you also can see with things like Respawn Entertainment, and
Star Wars
Uh,
Jedi used
yeah.
used Unreal 4.
yeah,
was
That
a
game
good
worked.
That was a good
yeah.
game.
Very good
also,
game.
Also just the fact that those were the titles that, like, if you look at like Apex Legends and Jedi Fallen Order, those are two companies. And I don't know if did Respawn also make Jedi Fallen Order? I don't think they did.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, they
That
did.
was their. I mean, people said that was their first single player game, but Respawn is made by or was Treyarch, I think.
Yeah.
Not Treyarch.
Yeah.
What company? Whichever one did Modern Warfare 2. After that, they kind of
No, I think
They-
that's Treyarch. Yeah.
Didn't they split
That was
off and
Treyarch.
form their own thing?
yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is if you look at like just Respawn, which their contract is is pretty much you can tell us what to do monetization wise, but we have full creative freedom. And we've kind of seen what they've been able to do, like with Apex Legends and now Jedi Fallen Order of like, yeah, you don't fuck around with the creation side of things. It can get profitable.
Yeah,
You-
that is something, and this is why Sony, and I won't spend too long on this, has come out with so many phenomenal good single-player games, is they're very hands-off when it comes to the
Yeah.
creative process.
It is
Yeah.
the
And
anxiety on the
Microsoft is
investor's
following that. Like, Microsoft's looking like they're going to do that, too. They're going to have some really good games coming out with them.
Yeah.
And good and it's the creative process is not handled well by executives. It
No.
never has
Well,
been.
Well, and a good example of that, look at Titanfall 2.
I'm
Titanfall
still mad
2
about that.
is a great game.
Still
but they
mad about
decided,
that.
let's meddle with it and let's have it release between
I'm
a
so
Call of
mad about
Duty
that.
game and a Battlefield game.
Literally, those
Right?
three games came out within 2 weeks or
Well, no, it
15
was,
days.
No, it was
1
3
week within
weeks.
each other.
It was
Call of
15
Duty,
days.
Then it was
Yeah.
Oh,
Titanfall,
God.
then it was Battlefield.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 15 days.
And
Yeah.
Battlefield is also an EA game. And so is
it was
Titanfall.
such a bizarre decision. I hope that person was demoted at the very least. I don't understand that move at all.
Oh, yeah. No, it's...
They lost them so much money.
And the campaign in Titanfall 2, short but
That
phenomenal.
was very good.
Each-
And I'm not normally a first-person shooter guy, but I enjoyed the shit out of that game.
Each level had its own unique thing, and that one level where you bounce between the past and the present, and you use that to maneuver around. That was so cool.
Oh yeah, no, I think a part of me is excited. Like, yeah, EA finally is getting their shit together, but like I read the interview with her, and it's
always PR speak, and that's that's what they're going to get because it's a major corporation.
They're speaking to each other. They're using their own language.
They're using business language. They're trying to deal with, with people funding the games and investors. And there is a very big reason right now that the best published games, and this is an opinion obviously, are coming from major console developers because they're making games not for profit but to sell units. So they make the best game possible, and that's why their stuff's coming out. And that's why you're getting great stuff from Sony. You've been getting it for years, and you're going to get some great stuff from Microsoft, and Nintendo's been killing it for like 30 years.
Nintendo
with their
does
games.
whatever. Nintendo is its own
But their
thing.
point is we're going to make the best game possible and use that to sell units, and it works.
Yeah. To steer us back on topic though, with Dragon Age 4.
No.
How do you go?
Sorry, I'm being Tucker.
Wow! My goodness! I will say, how do you guys think is this, if they are to cut all multiplayer from Dragon Age 4, how much do you think that's going to affect the development?
Not at all.
It's going to benefit it.
Okay.
I still think it's an additional team they have to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer wasn't done by anybody inside the Edmonton studio. It just wasn't. That was the origins of BioWare Montreal. It was done outside. So they just hire more people to do. I mean, I guess the answer is not absolutely nothing, but it's not anywhere near as big as people think. I guess the difference is you can take those resources, paying those people, and put it into the single player, but the multiplayer usually is designed to be profitable enough to run itself. So I don't think it's as big a deal as people have been hoping. And I like people who are really excited about it. I'm like, dude, what? So what? You don't like it? It's not there. You know what? I don't know anyone who really liked the multiplayer in Dragon Age.
I just don't think that every game
not many.
needs multiplayer. So it's like Mass Effect. Like I know very little of Dragon Age but I'll play Mass Effect. Mass Effect feels better as a multiplayer game than the little bit of Dragon Age I played. I just couldn't.
Yeah,
really...
from what I saw, you need more than 3 abilities in Dragon Age to have a functional character.
Yeah,
and you were limited to 3 in the multiplayer, and you needed like a tank, and the tank could do absolutely nothing.
So
it just didn't work.
While Mass Effect, it just felt better, as well as the gameplay of the kind of cover-based shooter lends itself better to that.
I think Andromeda would have killed it if it wasn't so bullet spongy and the abilities did more damage.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I got to be honest. I'm slightly worried that the next Mass Effect they'll retreat from multiplayer, and I think they should go in the other direction with that.
Yeah. I hope it has multiplayer.
If it doesn't, I am gonna be pissed. And
I will say, if they do, I really hope they just go, "Yo, BioWare Austin."
Yeah, no, that's you create a new studio to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, like last time we tried to really try to make it, we made Anthem. So,
basically, and this will be a good discussion maybe for another show, is the potential for a multiplayer version of Mass Effect that runs in conjunction with the main single player.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
That's basically like you put out something not necessarily like Apex Legends, but along the same motto. It's free. And then you come out with the other thing, and it's just a multiplayer that runs itself and is separate, but in the same universe, running alongside it.
I still have the idea that I'd like of something akin to Far Cry, where you can join your friend and you essentially just have access to the open world and all that stuff. You have access to side missions. The only thing that's locked off are main missions. But I feel like that'd be kind of fun, because then you're essentially just going around the Mass Effect universe with your friend in co-op mode.
That could work.
But it
I'd
just
still,
blocks them
I'd
out
still
of main
prefer to see
missions.
that just separate.
Well, I'm curious to see because with Halo Infinite, they're going a similar route where the multiplayer is going to be a free-to-play thing and separate from the campaign. So I think that if that does well, I think EA and BioWare are really going to look at that and go, shit, if Halo can do it, so could we.
Well, that's kind of how the industry was.
It's a way for Mass Effect to continue if they don't get the single-player games to work. It will not be popular with everybody.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that.
It never is.
Yeah.
But it's a way to continue interacting with those species and races and do stuff, and it's preferable, I think, to doing nothing.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that
and
is
also
a
the nice
a
thing
separate
is-
thing. So that's my concern based on they're cutting off Anthem, they're cutting off Dragon Age multiplayer. I think those are both moves that are probably correct, but I am nervous now for Mass Effect multiplayer.
Yeah.
And I
that's
wasn't
fair.
before.
One point I also want to bring up was they had 30 people working on Anthem next. So they're probably going to get diverted to working on the next Dragon Age game. That's what I would gamble on.
I think they flat out said that.
Yeah, they probably did. and I'm
I
just
wish I was
misremembering.
confident they're going to do that, but that's what they flat out said.
Yeah. So the one thing I will say is, I mean, like 30 people isn't that like in a development studio. That's not that much.
In a major one, yeah.
I think
like,
the
I mean,
Master
like-
Chief Collection, not counting testers or anything like that, counting actual development team, I think when I was working on it, there was like 3 or 4 people working on it at that point. Because they were just kind of like doing
That's
bug
a remaster,
fixing
though,
and
right?
server stuff, while the other companies were doing the actual remaster of Halo Reach. But actual like 3 for 3 only has like a couple people.
But
kind of.
overall, and I just assume remasters are a little bit easier to do. But then again, my knowledge there is
they're
not.
easier to maintain. And...
I would say that's fair, but the Master Chief Collection is way more extensive than any other remaster I've ever seen.
All right, let me.
Final Fantasy VII, but it's not finished.
That's also not a remaster.
That's a remake.
That is a remake.
Fair. Fair.
They
And
redid the whole
also-
game. They just used the same characters.
And
some of the
also,
plot.
Final Fantasy VII doesn't have multiplayer.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the remaster of Final Fantasy VII is
It's not a remaster.
remake. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a entire it really is an entirely different game.
Well, I think maybe one thing to even add more to, hopefully it'll come, to supporting like, hey, cutting off multiplayer for Dragon Age is a good idea. It was Aaron Flynn, I think is his name, the head of essentially Mass Effect.
Was former GM.
Yeah, was former GM.
Very nice guy, by the way.
Really?
Got to meet him. Yeah, ridiculously nice, actually.
I'm definitely not jealous, you bastard. Not jealous at all. Anyway, moving on. I remember in some of the interviews he was saying like the reason why they cut the Mass Effect multiplayer from the remaster was because it would take just as much work.
I believe that was Mike Gamble or
okay.
Yeah, Aaron Flynn is no longer with BioWare. In fact, he's got his own studio that you started crazy interested to see what they're doing.
Okay,
but
so
I didn't know
Michael
that's what
Gamble.
Yeah,
went off
he when he left, he took some people with him.
Yeah, just Minius, just edit out, make me sound more competent. And say
Okay,
I said Michael Gamble the first time.
I think you're thinking of Mac Walters specifically.
Oh, for fuck's God!
Yeah, and
Brain, why do I suck?
Boop, boop.
Yeah, Mac Walters is the guy heading that up, and he said that it would cost too much to do The Mass
Yes,
Effect 3 multiplayer.
that one. Thank you.
Do you want to start over and I'll edit it together?
Nope. I want people to see
Yes,
how dumb I am.
confident. Be confident with your.
I'm just.
Embrace
Your
it.
information though is correct based on what he said.
Yeah.
He
So-
said it was too much money
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
just as much as the.
redoing Mass Effect 1.
Yeah. So I mean, if it's really that time extensive to do that, yeah. I mean, and
I
especially
want to not believe him, although he's probably correct.
yeah.
Very likely correct.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
likely
so-
correct.
yeah,
That is the one thing. I mean, you want to summarize what's going on. 3 things that happened the last year, basically. 2 in the last week. Dragon Age 4, no multiplayer. Anthem, a multiplayer game, completely cut out. Mass Effect Remaster, no multiplayer. That's more than a trend.
Yeah. I really
Jedi
think
Fallen
that-
Order didn't have multiplayer.
Yeah.
Well,
the
I mean,
worst part
these are
is-
BioWare games.
I know.
But
Yeah. Well, and they've also been hiring a lot of people for multiplayer stuff in the last 4 or 5 years. So, uh-oh.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's something that's a wee bit weird, or not weird. I'm guessing EA seeing the money in it is they were earlier talking about how they're not going to do remasters, and then
Oh, yeah.
suddenly a bunch of remasters are coming out, like Need for
And
Speed.
they
the Mass Effect
realized
one.
it wasn't a good business model to not do that.
Red
so.
Alert 1 got a remaster, and I think Red Alert 2 is on its way to be getting a remaster.
Yeah. I think a
And-
lot of that is just EA as a publisher. They really don't understand the gaming community. And, like, yeah, they look at these, like, they try to analyze the gaming industry in almost the wrong way. In where it's like, I don't even know where they get some of their fucking information.
To counter that,
Okay.
that is 100% correct when it comes to gamers. Like, look at it. Their actual profits are up every year. So, from a company standpoint, they're doing very well with their Switches. It's just not consumer friendly at all, and at some point it's going to crash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not exactly crash, but it will get to a point where it is no longer as profitable as other.
Quite possible.
Like, it
Yeah.
is a thing that's, it's profitable in the beginning of it, but in the long term, it starts to.
I think they've
Trailing.
noticed this, and they've started to shift.
Yeah.
which is
But-
good.
Well, I mean,
You know, it's a good thing to be able to recognize if you're doing something wrong and be able to fix and address it. Something I don't understand. When EA has been trying to, like, fix some of the things that they've done, and then people go at them for that, like, if they're trying to make themselves, like, if they're giving out a free DLC with Battlefront 2 as sort of a thing of, like, the microtransaction, the whole fix they did with that and how they were trying to fix it, and people were going at them for it, it's like, well, you know, you can insult them for the stuff that they did, but they're fixing it. You know, why are you insulting that? I don't get that.
yeah, that's
At
Like,
this point,
that's just
at this
complaining
point,
to
though,
complain. Like, that's just you just want to insult them, or for some reason I don't get that.
well, it's fun. I was actually going to bring this up and apologize to you specifically, Tucker. I realized
What'd I
something
do?
over the last month. You did nothing, and nothing is your fault. I had an
Aw, I
outlet
love you
for being a crotchety old man, which I'm not. I just act like a crotchety old man. Is going to San Jose Sharks games. It's hockey. It's not really related to this, but me and my friend would sit and we would complain the entire time and yell and then laugh because we sound like crotchety old men, even though we're the youngest people in our row. But I can no longer do that, so now I complain about you. To you.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, you know,
So
sounds
I'm
like I'm back
taking
at a family
I'm taking
reunion.
all of that out on you, all of it.
Yeah, sounds like I'm back with my family.
Yeah,
Feel
it's
right
just
at
like,
home.
all right, I'll use Tucker as an outlet for me complaining. And I can't. It's not like I can go anywhere right now or do anything. And just, and the Sharks are still in them. And I'm sitting there and I want to complain about the Sharks. Got no one to complain about it with. I mean, I can text people. That's no fun.
Well, there's the internet. There's a lot of people. There's
It's
a lot of angry people on the internet.
It's nowhere
that
near as
love
fun to
argue.
do that as it is to complain while you're in the same building with the people or talking to them.
So what you're saying is we need like professional hockey to get its shit together.
The hockey's going on. I just cannot attend it.
Do you know what sounds like that might be able to fix that? Is doing more like live streaming or something like that, so you can be more social.
Be as
there's the
crotchety.
plug.
Well, so you can have.
No, the
more
point is I can
common
be crotchety
communication.
somewhere else and then be nicer in those.
Yeah, or that could be your niche.
Be a crotchety old man.
Yeah.
Crotchety. How many times have you used crotchety?
I don't know. I mean,
I think
It's a really good word.
I mean,
I think it's starting to lose
if I
meaning,
use the
though.
word crotch, it's usually in a different context.
The context is close enough.
No, I would
Crotchety.
say that those are different definitions.
Okay.
Oh, sweet Jesus Christ.
So the other very interesting thing that came out of BioWare this last week,
Ooh, yes. What is the secret third thing?
it's not secret.
Oh.
It's weirdly enough. So there's a picture of Henry Cavill, who is an actor who
Oh,
played
yeah,
Superman,
the Mass Effect TV
who
show
also
thing.
is Geralt in The Witcher, and he's getting his makeup done, and he takes a selfie of himself, and in the selfie he is holding not a script, but what looks like a pitch for a Mass Effect series. And
Yeah.
you can read it. You can it's fuzzy, but you can see it clearly. There, Talizor is very clearly. Cerberus is in there very clearly. So there's Geth. So that looks like a pitch for, I'm gonna assume, a Mass Effect series, maybe a movie, maybe a miniseries that he is reading over.
Theory.
Go ahead.
This is Netflix because how they have they have Henry Cavill as Geralt in The Witcher, so they already have decent contracts with him.
It seems like it would be a Netflix. Would be the most likely.
And Netflix did Bandersnatch.
Netflix is doing a ton of. I'm interrupting you again. They're doing a ton of video game stuff though.
Well, I mean, you can play Minecraft Story Mode on Netflix, but Netflix did Bandersnatch with Black Mirror director, so they might take a Mass Effect either movie, very small guest, it's a show, and have it in the manner of Bandersnatch, of where you make choices in a TV show or movie, kind of like a choose your own adventure.
That's the best option for them.
And
I was thinking that too, like a
Netflix would be the
choose your own
perfect spot
option
for it.
and like choose your own, like it'd be like the games except.
And that's why I tell you that you need to check out Bandersnatch, because
I'm never
it
gonna do
is
that.
this choice thing, and it's also because it's Black Mirror, it's like Twilight Zone, but it would
the other
also be
thing
the
that-
perfect place for Mass Effect.
No, it would be. I just think the one issue that Mass Effect has with this, and it's a very big issue, is to do Mass Effect right, it'd be ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're doing the Shepard story, ridiculously expensive. Now, if you had a ship with a crew that bummed around in the universe while this stuff was going on, that would not be as expensive.
Does it?
And
need
there
to
are
be
lower
Shepard?
budget stuff.
So,
I think that
I'm
would be
gonna-
better from an interest standpoint. I mean, it would make a better show. I don't think it would
Well,
be more interesting to people, but it'd
if
make a better
you-
show.
If you do Shepard, then wouldn't that kind of get into the argument of now there's a canon gender that is chosen, and
Yeah.
the
I think
choices in the
it's more
movie
along
or
the
show,
lines of
like,
this is in a different version of it, like
it's
a
like an
Spider-Man.
alternate timeline.
So
Yeah, like a Spider. There's like 8 of them, 8 Spider-Men.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, but I just wouldn't
Spider-Man?
know of a video game doing that, because there's some video game. I mean, there's some video game adaptations, like the Assassin's Creed movie and Tomb Raider and stuff like that. But Halo has had movies that are canon.
But I would
Yeah.
consider this, especially being done by somebody else, as just a different version of it. By the way, Netflix
Or what if
out
it's
right
a live
now.
action version of Paragon Lost?
That would not be as interesting as you think,
I
and
mean,
also doesn't have Tally in it, or it does have
this one
Cerberus
does.
in it. Doesn't
yeah,
have
Cerberus is in it.
doesn't have the Geth, I believe. Has some
It's just
really
the collectors.
awesome representations of anime biotics, though.
Is
Oh,
there
I
also a guy that has
enjoyed the shit out of
glasses
that.
in
It's a story of James Vega, basically.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
there's a character that has glasses in that, maybe.
Either way, what he has in his hands does not back that up at all. It looks very specifically either a Commander Shepard story of something about what Tally goes through, somewhat similar to the way the Quarians do in the Carpathian books, the second and third ones, where
it's
Quarians have
just
issues with Cerberus.
Yep.
It could be taking place like maybe a few months before Mass Effect 1, and Henry Cavill isn't exactly Shepard, but he...
You think he's a Quarian? With a British accent?
Yes!
Come on, please. Please make it work with the weird British Quarian
I'd
accent.
be totally okay with that.
What's the point of having Henry Cavill and his pretty face inside that suit, though?
So
are you not telling me that man would still be fucking gorgeous in a Quarian suit? Are you telling me he still wouldn't be?
So
you think you would be able to see through it and, like, everyone would just fall for him anyway?
I mean, like, I think so, because everyone would be like the scrawny little Quarians that we see. And then we got fucking Beefcake McGee, who's like, 2 feet taller than all the other Quarians, who looks like he ate 3 other Quarians to get to the form he's in. And he'd be like, I which one Henry Cavill is.
I like it just pans across. There's just that big bulk one standing out.
To back up the Netflix thing, which Tucker brought up, which is by far the most likely thing. So far, right now, other than Minecraft Story Mode and The Witcher, there's
And
obviously a
Bandersnatch?
Castlevania anime.
Oh yeah.
A Dragon's Dogma anime. There is literally a Dota anime coming out. They've got a Resident Evil live action series in the chamber, including an animated one. An Assassin's Creed live action series is in the works. There is a cyberpunk anime they have going in the works. Ooh. Splinter Cell, Tomb Raider, fucking Angry Birds.
Well, I mean, Angry Birds had a movie adaptation.
I'm aware of that, but these are all like...
And I think that actually did well. Like,
these are all more than rumored.
And there's also the Skyrim board game coming out.
Well, no, I'm just talking about specifically Netflix things.
I know,
yeah,
but there's
I
also
do not want to play a
board game.
Skyrim board game on Netflix. That sounds stupid.
So Skyrim now is available on, like... Yeah.
I'm going to bring up a bit of a controversial opinion.
Okay. Here. Let's see if you hit my conspiracy theory, which was...
It's not going to be at that level, but okay. But no. Let's see if I can go 3 in a row. So, 1, I think Henry Cavill's a good choice. He really
For
does...
For what? A Quarian?
Yes, as a Quarian, or just anything in Mass Effect, though. God, to see him as a Quarian would be fucking great.
What about a Volus?
Yes, even better.
He's the one that works for the Shadow Broker?
Yes. Anyway, so because of the fact that he puts, especially in nerd projects, like he did it with the Witcher series and a few others, he would do the same, my best guess, for Mass Effect. And so in that regard, I think he's a phenomenal choice. I have no problem with him being in a Mass Effect TV show.
That wasn't conspiracy enough.
That being said, however,
okay,
I do not think that it is a good idea to make a Mass Effect TV series or movie. I think it's a bad idea and damn near a waste of resources.
So, it depends on who funds it.
Wait, why?
Who's like, if Netflix pays for it and does it themselves, it's not a waste of resources.
But yeah,
it's Netflix's resources.
Why do you think a movie or a TV show wouldn't work well?
Okay, so the problem I have with video game adaptation, so going from video game to...
It's because they're garbage.
I mean, that, yes.
They're all garbage.
That. But the reason why they're all garbage, or one of the biggest problems with it is, when you go from medium to medium, it can have certain benefits and downsides. So a really good example is with books to movies. Books and movies works because there are aspects that are in a book that just can't be done like a movie can. Like, a good example is in Lord of the Rings, fucking J.R.R. Tolkien talks for 5 pages about the description of a tree. But
I love those books.
yeah, they're great books. But you know, for a movie, that would literally be a panning shot. You know.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
There are pros there are pros to go doing that medium because they're different enough that a book can making the jump, it can benefit from those. The problem is with video games to film of any type, movie or TV show, is the fact that they are so similar with each other in like visual storytelling and things like that, that really what differentiates them is the interactive capability of it. So the problem is going from a video game to a TV show, you lose that one thing that made it that made that story somewhat special because it was built with that interactiveness in mind. Now that's gone. And so, really, the problem is, what does a video game really benefit from being a movie adaptation that it can't just do as a video game?
Well, that would boil down to that depends on what type of video game. In RPG, yes, that would make more sense. But if there is a movie of What Remains of Edith Finch or something like that kind of would continue that story, that would fit beautifully because that already would fit the narrative that is already given to the player.
Yeah,
and
but
the Need for Speed movie, I think it was just bad in general. But
yeah.
The best video game movies take some of the characters and the concepts and are extremely, extremely liberal with them.
Yeah.
They don't follow the plot of the games. The plot of games, sometimes you enjoy this. They're not usually that great for movies. They're just weird.
And that is the same issue that the comic book industry had with movies too, is people like directors and stuff people know who Batman is, but then the director doesn't really understand the comics or stuff like that. They just know, Batman's dark or something like that. And it's a completely off character than what is actually shown in the comics.
Let's give him bat nipples and a bat card.
Yeah. And so it then pretty much was just waited until directors did come by who grew up with comics, who grew up reading them and understanding them, rather than someone coming in from the outside and trying to make a quick buck. Well, and now we're at the point of video games, because comic books were the 40s or 30, like around that time. Video games started around the arcades around the 70s and stuff like that. So now we're at that point where people who grew up with video games, and which is part of the reason why Witcher was pretty good. Detective Pikachu, I've heard, was pretty decent. Some of the more recent stuff is better.
I don't want to get into Witcher was actually kind of a mess. It was fun to see Geralt in there, but it was an adaptation of the books, and they changed so much from the books, and they made a bunch of really poor decisions.
I just heard that
and
it was
the structure was a disaster, even though the action was fun and the characters are fun.
I would say I kind of disagree with that, but we won't dive down that rabbit hole.
Okay, that's a separate topic. I mean, I want to get into it, but you're right.
There was a conspiracy.
Separate topic for another day. The other big issue I have with movie to, or video game to movie specifically, is the fact that you also have to remember, how much do these things cost? A major blockbuster film is gonna cost roughly $100 million, not including, marketing and shit.
Well, video games are more expensive.
I think that's an under-budgeted
major
film at this point.
Exactly.
You need like 250 to hit that, and is just as much in marketing.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a $500 million investment.
Yeah. Now let's compare to... Yeah. Now let's talk about video games that are now at that point, they're costing about the same as blockbuster films, generally.
They're a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But also, if you look at the profitability of video games,
Yeah.
And it's really profitable. Like, the video game industry is hugely profitable.
Best
So
example,
why-
GTA 5 making $1 billion in 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. So if you think about it, okay, so why would I have another studio, because it's not going to be Netflix solely funds it. There's no way in hell
that's
happening.
what
It's
they do,
going-
man.
Well-
Netflix, not only do they pay the people who own the rights to it, but they fund it entirely. EA,
Okay.
BioWare would have to do absolutely nothing other than make money off this.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
And it also reaches a audience that may never have reached Mass Effect to begin with, just simply people who don't play
That's-
video games. But
that's fair. And I guess my point I always had was that was before Netflix would come in and pay for all of it, because before that, movie studios would never do that. They would think, oh, fuck no, if we're gonna do this, you're paying for some of it, we'll pay for some of it, and then we're gonna move forward.
If that's the
So-
case, there's absolutely no reason for EA, BioWare to do this.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
If
which is
if
the point you're
Netflix
making,
just
right?
go-
But
yeah,
I don't
if,
think that's the case. But if it is,
Yeah, but it's
But-
if Netflix is just going, we will do production costs. We'll fund most of the bill. We just want a cut of the revenue that is made from it, and you will get your cut. If that's it, there is no reason why BioWare and EA should go, fuck yeah, let's do this.
you ready
So,
for my conspiracy theory?
you're
Okay.
All right,
Ooh,
let's see
I
here.
get three.
I
I trigger
had-
3 conspiracy theories in a row. I love it.
Well, this
yeah,
is
because I have one too, but you do yours.
this is the
for fuck's
and
sake.
I'm quite Tucker's ones are stupid. Actually, mine are stupid too.
Mine will be adorable.
This was an intentional leak by Henry Cavill, and this thing
100%.
is not real, or is in the very early things totally designed to get excitement for the remaster going.
Oh, you two, you just.
So
think
this
we
is
should-
not
for the
actually
remaster?
something that's going to happen. This is something like literally he could have been paid to do this
Well,
by
it
EA
might also
BioWare.
be-
This is not
I
a real
think-
script. This is just trying to drum up excitement for the remaster coming out in a couple
I
months.
think the leak part thing that could be because it's really difficult, especially nowadays, to differentiate between a legitimate leak or something that was a hidden marketing ploy. They've gotten so damn smart at.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
That stuff.
absolutely.
that one. It's
but-
almost impossible not to say that this wasn't on purpose
But
because
having
the
it for
way he's
the
holding the
remaster-
pieces of paper.
Oh,
Like,
and the
what-
fact that Henry Cavill isn't smart enough to know that. Oh,
we don't
if
know.
I do,
We don't
if
know
I,
how smart he is.
What do you mean?
well,
He's
yeah. Well, no, but
You
are
implying
you
that
telling
he's-
me
just
well-
listen to his accent. He's obviously smart.
Yeah.
naturally? But are you telling me he's not smart enough to not know that hey, if I take a picture of a leak of a script when I am under NDA and put it on my social media,
Yeah.
that I am not going to get sued into oblivion and back?
Especially
No.
if it's I'll just slightly fuzz it. It's well,
Oh,
I mean,
fuck no.
if you're really
No,
blocking it out, you put
people
a
edited
black.
the image. Yeah, people
thing.
edited the image and just took the blur out of it. That's why we know about it.
Yeah.
But by the way, this is not a script. This is
No, it's like a-
synopsis at best.
Yeah.
Probably
yeah.
like a vertical, not a vertical slice. I don't know what it's
I
called.
would assume.
Probably just a
I'm
pitch.
assuming it's a pitch for a
Yeah,
show,
yeah.
and that's it. Although there are quite a few pages there, but
Yeah.
With
But no,
the video,
like,
fun
Henry
fact,
Cavill's
the-
smart enough; he wouldn't ever do that unless this was intentional and he had, permissions and shit like that.
Fun
It would
fact,
not-
the game industry has things that are called vertical slices, which are kind of like every bit of the game is set up and can kind of be touched and worked on, but it's not actually fully in depth. And that is kind of something that is used to pitch to publishers and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, I guess with Mass Effect as an example would be you can have your character move around, you can have your character shoot a gun, use one type of biotic, maybe one type of hacking thing, but just kind of showing this is the idea that we have. We don't have every biotic set up, but we have an idea, and here's one of them, lifting them up off the ground or something like that.
Yeah, I get you
But-
there on that one.
So, neither of y'all's conspiracy theories are fun enough. So, my idea
That's not a good idea.
is that Henry Cavill, so
is
if
secretly
that
an alien.
paper has something.
He's a reaper. He's a reaper plant, and we're all gonna die.
He's indoctrinated. That's the real Mass Effect 3 ending. He wakes up as Henry Cavill.
I would be totally okay with that.
But, where was I going? Right.
Oh my God! You're literally pulling this out of your ass as you go.
Oh,
why should we let you talk
That
anymore?
is my life. Because I like to provide happiness and laughter to those around me. I like to think. I like to be a positive person.
Come on. Well,
So,
okay, let's bring that conspiracy
Henry Cavill.
theory in.
He has a piece of paper that has Mass Effect on it. And he is a solid dude. When he goes into his roles, he researches them. He does his proper research. He did that with Superman, and he did that with Witcher, that he actually, read some of the comics or the books and
Played the game
got into it.
repeatedly. Yeah, what?
So he would also be doing that with Mass Effect. I'm running a theory that Henry Cavill is probably at some point tip-tapping away on YouTube. He maybe stumbles upon one of our podcasts. Henry Cavill, if you're listening, you are absolutely invited onto this podcast at any goddamn moment you choose.
That would be such a low point for him. That'd be like
I'm not
the
talking about
lowest
him. I'm
point in
talking
his
about the
career.
high point
Was
for
your
us.
conspiracy theory a fucking pitch to Henry Cavill to get him on
Well,
the show?
if he's doing his research, he might stumble across. We don't know. There is a chance. And if he is there, Henry Cavill,
Yeah,
buddy.
No, that's
you
true.
and we can just send us an email. We can make it happen. We will make it happen. Like it'll be good. We'll absolutely we could talk about Mass Effect and stuff like that. We could talk about whatever the fuck you want. But
I'm afraid
Yeah.
I'm going to ruin this pitch, and I don't want to. I was just thinking, like, the most likely scenario of them coming out with the Mass Effect TV show is to make Mass Effect fans angry, including us. It just seems like the way it's going to be going.
But
But
we'll
yeah,
see.
convince me otherwise, Henry Cavill, and come on our stupid podcast.
Gorgeous man.
This has turned into a little bit of a pathetic stretch here.
It's okay. When you're this, when you're a small little bunch of creators, we can do shit like this. The panic only sets in and when
When he says yes, he's like, "Let's make this happen tomorrow," and we're like, "Oh my God, what do we do?"
Yeah. Anyway, so shall we move on?
see, I like my conspiracy theories.
Your conspiracy theory of inviting him onto the show?
Yes.
It's great.
Mine
that you think
bring
it's,
results.
you know that it's so unlikely that you called
But
it a
if-
conspiracy theory.
Minius, if it happens though, we get to be friends.
All right, fine.
Fuck.
Joke's on you. I'm like friends with Henry or something like.
All right, fine.
Okay.
I'll
Moving
yield
on.
that. We're going to shift into some more Mass Effect stuff. There's a question that I missed that I blamed on Tucker and absolutely was not his fault.
Oh.
So I'm blaming Seeker Cat, and it was
Hey,
not
it's
her
the thing that you
fault.
talked about earlier. It's like you set it up to bring it back later. It's like payoff for that, like foreshadowing.
So something like James wrote into accidentallycasual@gmail.com, which is where Henry Cavill's going to go soon. If Mass Effect Andromeda were to continue, where would we want the story to go next?
As in, like, location-wise, or as in...
Plot-wise, I'm assuming.
So I actually got a theory as well with Andromeda.
This is not a theory of where it will go next. It's where would you want it to go next?
Yeah, well, kind of.
So
or at
you're
least how I
only
would
gonna kinda-
like them to wrap up Andromeda. Like
That's how they have to do. They need to
wrap
wrap
that.
up the first plot. They didn't wrap up anything.
Yeah. But y'all go. I'll bring in the big guns later.
Okay, alright, we got Big Guns McGee over here holding up the rear.
He hasn't thought of what he's going to say yet. Come on,
No,
he teased it, but has no clue what he's going to say.
Minius, we can't ruin.
I mean, do you want me to do mine right now?
No,
'Cause
the most interesting thing they can do is go into the Jardin and have them have a weirder more interesting than it was reason for doing what they're doing, and have that be the main plot. That's the most interesting direction, and that's something that should have been solved already. But that's my opinion on that.
Yeah.
There are lots of other story threads they can go to, like the benefactor, although but that one is the biggest thing they set up and never knocked down.
Yeah. Where I would want it to go, and this is going to be a little bit shooting for the moon, but fuck it, why not?
This is all hypothetical.
I
this
like
is Andromeda
that
too.
style. I
Is,
like that.
I would like if they could somehow tie Andromeda and the Milky Way story together somehow.
Oh no.
I mean,
I don't know how they would do it.
yeah,
I
that's
have a pitch in my
600
head
years
on how
difference.
they would do, like, tie the two together somehow.
Is this another show in and of itself?
Oh
we
yeah,
all have
100%.
All have a pitch for Andromeda too?
No, mine
Yeah.
is not a pitch. It's more of a.
Do we want to make this a topic in another show?
I'm totally down.
Okay.
Sure, why not?
To develop a full pitch. I was actually
Oh.
going to do a video on what I would have done with it, and this would be a precursor to that, I guess. But
Yeah, I
Okay.
would have. Yeah,
thanks, James.
but-
James, by the way, has not played the trilogy yet and is going to. And asked me what
wait
to
until
look forward
the
to that.
remaster.
And
Like,
I'm
don't play it now.
I'm a little
Wait.
afraid we're going to spoil the entire thing for him if he's still listeing.
Well,
Yeah.
James.
Actually, question, James.
James, at
for
over an
you-
hour into the podcast, stop listening, quick.
Yeah, I was about to say, James, how have you not? If you've been a longtime viewer, how have you not been spoiled by the ending yet?
Yeah, I mean, I yell
Well,
out
spoiled
spoiler
in
all the time
playing
without
may be
actually
a bit different.
worrying about.
Like, he just may not have played it, but he may know the story.
Yeah,
Or has he said that he
it'd
doesn't
be interesting
know?
to go into playing a game knowing the entire plot ahead of time.
Well,
I don't
mean,
know
you
if
may
I'd-
have like a little gist of it, but not the meat, not the details.
A
really.
lot
Or,
of
like-
people jumped into Mass Effect 2, skipping Mass Effect 1 and then reading about that. So
Yeah.
it probably would work.
And I'm about to tie that with my pitch.
Which
All
we
right,
were.
big guns,
I
McGee, let's see it.
thought we were doing another segment on another show.
Well, I mean, you know,
You're gonna forget what you just made up.
probably.
All right, go
Or
ahead.
think of something better. I mean, who knows what tomorrow brings? But the so say Dragon Age does well, Mass Effect, the new Mass Effect does well. A few years has passed now. Obviously, at that point, they're not going to go back to the game of Mass Effect Andromeda. That it's already been a decent amount of years, and then in addition to, if Dragon Age does well and Mass Effect does well, and they actually have faith in BioWare and giving them more flexibility in what to do. So as a way to wrap up Andromeda, they do something akin to when Mass Effect 2 got released on the PlayStation 3, because Mass Effect 1 wasn't out on that. It came with a kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure style thing in the beginning of decisions in Mass Effect 1 that sort of played out a story. They could do something like that with Mass Effect Andromeda of tail-end stories, just to kind of wrap it up as a way of like a, I don't know, just kind of bundle that in with it. So it wouldn't be full-end DLC where you're playing the game, because at that point it would be too far to get back into that engine and to even release DLC for something of that game. But as a, hey, things are going better, our previous games did well, we have so much brighter stuff in the future, and as a thank you for y'all sticking with us with this time, here's this thing, this like wrap up of Andromeda that we never really got to, and we have a little bit of extra time. So here's a comic book, choose your own adventure type of style to wrap up some
Mass
of the
Effect
loose
artwork
ends.
is fun, so I would enjoy that just for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would be, I think, the all-around, the best way for the fans to get it, the best way for it to react to the developers, like as an all-around, like everyone would win in that scenario in some form, rather than one side having a much higher winning thing than the other. It's like that would be a great middle ground, I feel. And that is if BioWare is successful with Dragon Age 4 and the next Mass Effect, and
I think
are essentially allowed to do stuff.
Andromeda 2 is very unlikely because let's say the next Mass Effect game, which is and I'll cut this off. People are convinced that, Scott, what you're saying is going to happen, and these two universes are going to be combined, the Andromeda and Milky Way. There was hinted to a little bit that they want to do that. There are so many plot problems with that at the moment.
I mean,
specifically time stuff.
Difference.
Like Andromeda takes place like at least 600 years after the Mass Effect trilogy.
Hey, I didn't say that this.
Yeah.
I said it was a shot to the moon for a reason.
But-
and it did show Liara.
Yeah.
So,
Which she'll be alive 600 years after the Mass Effect
Yeah.
trilogy, unless something horrible happens to her.
I don't think I think we are all kind of in the same boat of the idea that this next Mass Effect game is sooner rather than later in relation to time period of the trilogy.
Probably much closer to Shepard's story than
Yeah.
otherwise. That would be my guess. No, nothing backing that up yet. But
The arcs would still be in cryo sleep on their way to Andromeda at this point.
The biggest thing is if that's successful, they need to continue with that instead of going back to Andromeda. That was the point I was getting to.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be like the Halo series has Halo 1, 2, 3,
Do you
and then
like Halo?
ODST. Dude, Halo
You never talk
is
about Halo
awesome.
anymore.
Well, because there's some things that's a bit more difficult to talk about because I've worked on.
Tucker's worked on Halo and can't talk about it.
Yeah, there's.
Am I allowed to
it's
say that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean that's fine.
That
it's just more of
he's
like
literally under an NDA, so.
yeah, it's more of I can't remember exactly
Oh,
what's
that
under
is the
NDA
way to
and
say
what's
that.
not.
Is that you're not under an NDA? You just don't remember anything you did.
No. I just don't remember what's under. I mean, I know what's under NDA, everything, but I just
There
don't
could
remember
be
what's
something
been
under
officially
NDA
announced.
that you don't realize is there.
Well, I don't know what's been officially announced and what hasn't, so I'm just
Okay,
kind of quiet.
Just quiet. Yeah, that's why we haven't talked very much Halo.
But
Well, except me, apparently.
Halo had ODST, which was kind of its own side story that kind of related to the main story, but was its own contained thing, and that's what Mass Effect Andromeda could be. It could be its a side story of the Mass Effect series and kind of left at that.
Yeah, I think your option is the best, or a comic book in of itself ending it. That's the most likely ending for Mass Effect Andromeda.
It is. I don't
Or-
know if I like that. And I
Or
know fans
we
would
will
be
do
pissed.
it, and I'll draw it, and
There
it'll
is
be
actually-
just a disaster.
What is the name of this website?
Just like Andromeda.
There's a website where you can kind of choose your own adventure. And I worked on some of that stuff when I was at Full Sail. It was like one of the things. It was just a website where you could type some basic programming, like it would be brackets to create a separate text box, and then when you ran the actual site, it would play your text, and you could click and choose and make your own adventure that way. So we actually can do that.
Oh, not with the artwork though, because none of us are talented enough to do that.
Yeah.
Imagination.
I can send people a picture of the best picture ever drawn is a black and white pen drawing of a whale, and it's not good at all.
I mean, they say, at least with horror, that like the best thing to do is to never show or to like not show.
So we just wouldn't
thing?
show anything? That's pointless.
We don't show them anything, and they wonder how horrifying our images really are.
Yeah.
All right, let's shift things a little bit. I ran a tournament, and I say ran in the past tense because by the time this podcast goes live in the next couple hours, it'll be over. A Mass Effect recommendation tournament.
Oh, I'm
And
excited
even though
for
this thing is almost done, neither of us, we don't. The final poll will be so close that it could be a tie
Yeah.
between
Ooh.
Dragon Age Origins
purposely
or Knights of the Old
voted
Republic.
to tie it up.
Which you didn't even know what the game was when we started, but you voted for it anyway.
Yeah.
Actually, by the way, very impressed with how many people voted for Knights of the Old Republic. It is the most Mass Effect-like game out there. checks the most
absolutely
boxes.
thought that The Witcher was going to make it to
I
the
did
end.
too.
I'm still kind of saddened by the choices because Origins and SWTOR is, like
There
I
have
don't
been.
know. I was very surprised to not see Witcher 3 win. Like
well,
it
it's
got
just like
third.
those are still games that you expect. I was still hoping for something like Starflight or some sort of other game.
It's a popularity contest, Tucker. There's no way.
It is, and it's like it's so sad.
What the most surprising thing about this is that not only did The Witcher 3 not win, which I really expected, and says something about the state of where CD Projekt Red is. They're
Henry
not
Cavill,
anywhere near
if you
as
come
popular.
on the podcast, we will make Witcher win.
I'll rig it. I'll set up a busted ghost accounts. Is not only did it not win, it didn't make the grand final and got beat out by 2 BioWare games. So
Yeah.
I initially we were going to have this final runoff, which is the last post, the grand final, to protect one of the BioWare games against The Witcher 3, assuming the vote was split. But the vote was split, and both of them still beat The Witcher 3. That kind of blows my mind.
Yeah. I saw that and I'm like, I was very surprised on that.
There's a lot of anti-Witcher 3 stuff saying it's not good for Mass Effect game. It's the best dialogue game outside of BioWare, and it's more modern than the Old Republic and Dragon Age Origins, and that's why I would... Actually, by the way, in my recommendations, based on that final, where the order it finished in was Dragon Age Origins finished first, followed less than 2% by KOTOR, then The Witcher 3 and Horizon Zero Dawn. If I were to vote those, it would literally be in reverse order. I'd have Horizon Zero Dawn at top, then The Witcher 3, then KOTOR, then Dragon Age Origins, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
By the way, we have decided we're going to do a full video with our top 10 recommendations based a little bit on this tournament, but mostly on what we want to do, and we'll get some of Tucker's weird games in there.
Yeah. Like, rather than it being a podcast, it will be...
Just a regular video that normally in the style we do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Scripted.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Scripted and edited, where I don't sound like a fucking idiot that can't remember names to save my life.
I'm still going to sound like that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, interesting. Like everything kind of went how I expected until that last thing.
Yeah.
Which is, I do think if we did this, either last year at this time or 2 years ago at this time, Witcher wins.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk would have won.
And Cyberpunk really damaged their reputation, and nobody is as excited about those games as they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Which is fascinating how fast that turned.
Cyberpunk doesn't change anything about Witcher 3.
I don't believe that's true. The internet's stupid.
Yes, there's that. I am meaning as a game, like, nothing changed. It is still the same story, gameplay, everything. Like, it's the same game. So I don't understand when people suddenly, like, change their perspective on past games because of decisions that the companies have made.
It's just the way it works, man.
I mean, it's human psychology, but why?
I don't have a good reason for any of this stuff. One of the interesting, like, I ran a tournament earlier based on most anticipated game, and weirdly enough, like, Cyberpunk crushed that tournament. Beat out Dragon Age 4 by a lot, which is one of the reasons why I'm so surprised that the tournament ended up the way it did. But yeah,
I put on that final thing of like what game should win, I put a GIF of old school RuneScape, and speaking of that, I tapped back to it, and there's a snowball fight going on that really confuses me.
All right, damn it, Tucker, fucking close that game. All right, so thanks for doing. I have another tournament lined up that's going to coincide with the launch of the launch of the launch of the remaster. So it'll finish up right as that comes out. That's something that I think it's a Mass Effect specific.
We still don't
tournament.
know when that is.
There's a release date for the Mass Effect remaster, Tucker.
Oh, there is. Oh yeah, it's
Come
March
on.
something.
Come
no,
on.
I knew
God
it was in
damn
March.
it, Tucker.
I knew it was in March, but I didn't know if they gave a specific date.
No, the date is in May.
Yeah,
May?
May 14th.
Right.
Oh my God, Tucker, your mind is just a sieve these days.
It is. I'm tired. Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for voting.
Yeah.
If the thing does end in a tie, they'll be co-champions.
Yeah, just
I am surprised that like Witcher didn't actually get there, because that was really what I was expecting.
I think I lost in my Twitter following, which is the entire made up of this. I lost a lot of Witcher fans after Andromeda came out. So that's one of the things. One of the conspiracy theories that, aside from the Cyberpunk launching funny and dampening experience for past games, that's 5 conspiracy theories. I'd like to be right on at least one of them.
Is that going to be the name of our episode? Just like something about conspiracy theories?
I don't know.
No, because I do not want to attract that crowd. Fuck that.
I am going.
No, we do want to draw them.
I am going
No.
to attempt to have to in the thumbnail have a picture of Henry Cavill in a Quarian suit.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm tired. And if I do that, then the name of the podcast will be something like that. Don't think I'm talented enough to make it work.
Do you know what?
It doesn't need to look good. And actually, there's like that.
It actually
peak.
should look bad on purpose.
I mean, there is that, not middle ground, but there is that moment where it is so bad that it is good. Like where it's bad and it's bad and it's good. And
I can't hit that, man. I'm not even talented enough for that.
Just literally get an image of Henry Cavill's face and just supersede it.
I already while Tucker was saying dumb shit, I already got 2 pictures that I'm going to work with. So
wait, you only found 2 pictures over the span of an hour?
No, I found many pictures. I found 2 where he's facing in the same direction as a male Quarian.
Yeah, but I've been saying dumb shit for like over an hour. How long have you been looking?
I mean, it took me like 2 minutes. I did it already.
Yeah.
All right, one thing I want to touch on. I asked you guys both to play the Outriders demo. You both don't care enough, which is fine.
Well, no.
Was...
I care. I was just playing Anthem. Because
that
was a bit of a higher precedent.
I saw that. You asked me like, hey, you guys could get it, and I'm like,
it's free.
It's
out right now.
It's just a demo, right?
It's interesting. Like when it came out, like people don't do this anymore. They called it a demo, but all your progress actually carries over to the main game and is free.
Yeah.
So that was like
Fable 2 did that.
When did that come out though?
A while ago, but I think
Exactly.
that's another. I'm trying to remember other games that have done that.
So I was originally going to do a video on, because there's the combat in it is very, very similar in concept to Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect and building bit race. It's very third-person cover-based shooter, which I love those. And it's getting some weird mixed reviews, the demo. Where like, so the problems that it comes with is that as far as you're putting this in the same category of it's a co-op looter type shooter. So you're thinking Destiny, you're thinking Anthem, you're thinking The Division, and it's similar to those other than the fact that it's not a live service, so they're putting everything out there.
Yeah.
But also their end game and their loot systems sound so much cooler, and their story, they're actually trying. So there's more story in that demo than I remember in most of those other games. Including one character that is far more interesting than any character in any of the 3 games I mentioned. Mm-hmm. But, and this is killing some of the enthusiasm, there's some animation issues. The frame rate, during the cutscene specifically, the cutscenes are capped at like 30 frames a second, and the game plays at 60. So when you go to a cutscene, it doesn't look right. And then the frame rate stutters, and then the audio gets off, so they're talking at different times than their lips are moving. And you're just like, oh, man, you're trying to promo the game. I want this game to work because I thought the gameplay was fantastic. I mean, it really, really was fun, especially with people. And just those things in general seem to be turning people off to it. And I was like, oh, you got to put your best foot forward, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Probably pandemic related.
I would gamble money on it.
But at this point, like, I can't recommend it to you because if the entire game's like that, it's gonna damage it. But the coolest thing they do is it feels like a single player RPG, but it's still in that same thing. So you will walk around and then talk to people like you would in a Mass Effect. And Anthem kind of did this, not really, but it has the same similar thing where you can jump right to the mission, or you can ask them a bunch of background story about the universe. Like you would do in Mass Effect, and get a bunch more information on the lore and stuff in that way. But from a personal standpoint, it's way more interesting than the other ones. It's just not polished, and the game's supposed to come out in a month. But I would like to get your guys' opinion on that at some point. and it is worth checking out if you're interested in anything. It's ridiculously dark.
Yeah. I almost, when I was looking at it, I saw it almost like, it is almost as if like Anthem and Gears of War had a love baby, and that's what Outriders is.
The people who made this worked on Gears of War.
Yeah.
Wait, what
was the first game? What in Gears of War?
Anthem and Gears of War had a awkward love baby.
The plot seems a lot like a combination of Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda, but it's not really, and it's more interesting than both. But then again, I'm trying not to get too locked in on what they show with it, because who knows if they finish this stuff. Like, we played Mass Effect Andromeda early, and we're like, look at all these cool ideas they could do, and they never finished any of them, which really damaged the game. But
and
I mean,
something that was also kind of sad when we got to play Mass Effect Andromeda was the multiplayer wasn't working.
Yeah, that's true. But the idea is, if they finish off some of these, there's one character that I'm legitimately interested in, who wasn't interesting until the very last part of the demo. And I'm like, okay, this is already more interesting than all those other games story-wise combined, and the loot systems seem better because the loot is based upon actually making builds, and the universe seems more interesting. But then again, it's just too early, and that those technical issues are gonna piss people off just based off my experience with Andromeda. It's already
really must be desensitized
those
because
I am too. But I was looking and I noticed it, and I'm like, uh-oh, this is going to be bad. And then there were people going there like, the gameplay sucks. I'm like, you're out of your mind. We did not play the same game.
I just, like, the crashes and bugs with Cyberpunk, I mean,
they didn't bother you at all?
It annoyed me, but it didn't take away from the game. Like, I must be just desensitized to
It didn't crash on me. It crashed on my buddies a couple times.
It crashed on me.
Not
like
Cyberpunk, but I'm talking about Outriders.
Ooh.
But the point is that this game probably isn't ready, and it's coming out anyway, which means their funding probably ran out.
So is there no release date for it?
No, it's coming out literally. It's coming out on April 1st, which is dumb. Yeah, this is like Tucker. Tucker's got a game coming out on April 1st, by the way, you suckers. Why don't you believe that? But it's a game I'm very interested in, and I think there's so much potential in this formula. But this is the first that actually looks like it has a world that they're trying to dive into in-game. There's a ton of Destiny lore, but it's not in-game. So, and the world's more interesting to me based on the stuff I got. Destiny always seemed kind of fake to me. None of these people in this one are any good at all. They're just nasty people, and the situation's just bad. It's basically, so the idea is, obviously Earth is dead and you go colonize a new planet, right? People have seen that before. The colonization is basically on the verge of failure, and that's the plot, where they landed in this valley and now they can't get out, and they're all going to die. And you're trying, so that's more interesting to me right there. And they didn't tease that in the video, so already I'm interested. But again, I can't recommendate it. That's my new word, because of just those buggy issues and how mad I know Mass Effect fans get, because it does take you out of the story. There was this woman who had something interesting to say, and I was listening to her, and her fucking shoulders started freaking out. It was like repeatedly popping in and out of its socket. And I'm like, So, anyway, I hope it does well. I'm a little bit worried that this is going to squash it, but if it does well, it's got crossplay and we can play it at some point.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll get my shit together, I promise.
No, you won't.
I'll try.
Well, okay,
I mean,
that one I
Scott,
believe. I believe you'll try.
I have faith in you, Scott. I believe in you.
Thank you. Thank you. Like
all right.
someone does.
I have no faith in it. Now I'm taking my Sharks frustration out on Scott. Sorry, Scott. I want to go yell at billionaires that I pay money to.
That just means that Scott is now like a full member of the podcast now.
It is. It actually is. It's a good sign.
I don't know how I feel about that, but that might
be proud.
How are we going to get Henry Cavill on the podcast if you don't even want to be on the podcast?
No. It wasn't that. It was. I was more
Scott,
just making
this is the best podcast. He's listening.
He's not listening at this point.
He may have turned off once we stopped talking about him. He may have been like,
maybe. No, okay. I was more talking about the imposter syndrome. Like, what? I'm not a full part of this. What? No.
Yeah.
They're just still guest starring me. It's fine.
Man.
That's just the imposter syndrome talking. Don't mind me.
Oh, yeah.
You guys ready for the final Tuchanka character and the obscure Mass Effect character of the week?
No,
I mean-
Tachanka itself is going to be the obscure character.
But it's not obscure. It's a main landing point in the Mass Effect games. You go
I
there
like
and
how
see multiple
that
games.
was the point, not it not being a character. So there's a theory that
damn
Tachanka might be a Reaper.
Your theories. That's the dumbest theory I've ever heard.
It's alive.
Which is
Tachanka's
not
alive.
true. It is not the dumbest theory I've ever heard, and it's not even the dumbest theory that you've come up with, but that's a dumb theory.
Yeah, I've come up with some pretty dumb shit.
So this one is Ratch, who is a merchant you meet on Tuchanka, who wants you to kill Pyjax.
What was his name?
Ratch.
Oh, I remember him.
Ratch.
Every single character in Tuchanka has something really hilarious to say.
Said they were stowaways. They swarmed off a ship and started stealing food and shitting everywhere.
I can't imagine you let him walk away after that.
Not a chance. One ball of Pyjok dung nailed the leader of Clan Forsan across the forehead. That's apparently grounds for execution.
Isn't
So
a
I dropped
Krogan's
their-
name by like the first noise that they make or something? Or
I feel like I should know that, and I don't.
you should.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so. Some of them are
Well,
more complex.
It's something of like the noise that they first make, or something like that. Like, because all their names are like those types of not sound
Like
effects.
guttural sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are some with more complex names. So, anyway, I loved being on Tuchanka. It all started with a recommendation from someone, and I stuck there. But now I'm going to get to all of your recommendations. I have 5 lined up and have the audio for, and there are 2 more audio clips. I'm still looking. If you want to recommend a character that's an obscure character in Mass Effect to us, write into accidentallycasual@gmail.com. 2 qualifiers. One, it has to be a less obscure character than Conrad Werner. So there have been a couple that didn't really qualify. And second, I need to find an audio clip with my own gameplay or with your gameplay. So that's going through. After I go through the remaster, I will be breaking that all down. So I'll get almost everybody's. But I've found some more audio, and we got 5 pretty good recommendations lined up. If you want to recommend someone, like I said, email us. Although, if the planet you send me to look for the audio is too interesting, I might get sidetracked for months, because I just
Ooh.
proved that. So be careful.
Someone give him someone from like
I don't think
what's
you
one
can,
of the most populated planets.
you can't do better than Tuchanka.
Yeah, but I'm talking about one that's populated, so then you're on that area.
I mean,
like
they gotta say something interesting. It's not like, I mean, I'll get off soon. I had a couple from Ilium, and that didn't stick me. So, all right, this has been episode number 26 or
Wait, what?
29.
Yeah, I was about to say, hold on,
If
man,
you
buddy.
split upside down, it's 29. Why did I write 26? This is what you don't write the script when you're tired. Of the Accidentally Casual Gaming Podcast. By the way, we all have YouTube channels with stuff on it.
Yeah, we do.
If you want to check it out, we got cool Mass Effect videos and other videos. Tucker gets into Game Talk. We're all looking forward to stuff coming out. Scott does stuff on the expanded universe BioWare stuff. So check those out. There are links in the description box. If you want to chat with other Accidentally Casual fans, as we've mentioned before, there's a link to the Discord in the description box with some other links as well. You can look at there. And questions can always be emailed to accidentallycasual@gmail.com or tweeted at me at Minius GC. So, we're going to be back next week, guys.
Woohoo!
I mean, we typically are.
That's right.
I mean,
Okay, that's the end of the show.
I don't think we have a time where we haven't.
No, we've actually hit
been,
quite a few.
We've been pretty consistent with the time.
We've been very consistent. Yeah, it's actually
Yeah.
And that was like a major concern that you kind of had.
well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's enough technical issues, but we're doing pretty well. All right, I'm stopping the recording.